السلام عليك يا بنت ولي الله، السلام عليك يا أخت ولي الله، السلام عليك يا عمة ولي الله، السلام عليك يا بنت موسى بن جعفر ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to Imam Hussein TV, where today we will be discussing the Holy Lady, Lady Fatima Masuma alayhi salam. As we pay our respects to her, I'd like to extend my condolences to you all on her shahadat. Lady Fatima Masuma was often referred to as the guardian of Qum, and many narrations and traditions tell us that she had a very close relationship with her brother Imam Ali Raza alayhi salam, and often people draw a comparison between her relationship and the relationship of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to his sister, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. But how much do we really know about this holy lady? Do we know enough to say that we know enough about her life and why she was so special to her brother and why she has such a high position in Islam? Joining me today is Sister Matsuma. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Matsuma.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and inshallah we'll be discussing more about her life and why she had such a high status in Islam. And we know that she has a high position in Islam, and often people use her as their intercession with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have their hajat, to have their amal, to have their du'as answered. But do we really know enough about her? And I personally, I can say that hand on heart, I don't know enough about her, which draws me very nicely to my first question of today's program. You've been blessed to write a book about her. There must have been some inspiration, something that must have inspired you to write a book on such a noble lady. So just if you'd like to shed some light on why you've written a book on such a high lady.
Sure. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we were blessed to go to Qum to study there for a year. My husband and myself and my 3 children. While we were there, I was having a really hard time leaving behind family and all the comforts of the Western world and going to Qum, being on my own. At that time there weren't that many sort of people that we knew there. And I was having a really hard time learning Farsi as well. I'm a very much maths and science orientated person. Languages isn't my forte at all. I was having a real difficult time, and I saw my husband pick it up just like that, and my children were picking it up, and I felt really really silly a little bit, sort of thing. I couldn't grasp the language, and I was finding it really, really difficult. And I remember sitting in the haram of Bibi Masooma Jaffer and actually talking to her, and I'm sitting there talking to her, but I felt no connection whatsoever. And I kept thinking, I wish I was in Mashhad. I wish I was with my Imam. And I felt so guilty for thinking that. Yeah. And so I went home, and then we went to Ansarian, the bookstore that everyone goes to in Qum. And I tried to find something in English about her, and I couldn't. At that time, there was nothing in English about her. So I was having a really hard time connecting to her. And then the next time I went to the haram, I sat down and I said to her, everyone here talks about, you being the guardian of everyone who's in Qum and you taking care of and loving everyone. I don't feel that love, and it's probably my fault because I don't know anything about you. Like you said, there was no connection there at all, and I felt so guilty. And I said to her, you know what? Let's make a deal. Yeah. You help me with my Farsi, and I promise you the first thing I will do is write a book about you in English, so that those people who come here who don't know Farsi, because there's a lot of material about her in Farsi, but there wasn't at that time anything in English. Yeah. So I said anyone who's in the same boat as I am, who's coming here, who's not Farsi speaking, will actually be able to know you and connect to you. So if you help me with Farsi, then that's the first thing I'll do. So alhamdulillah,
your du'as were answered.
Very much so. The book is the result of this amazing lady's blessings and love that she shows to all those who live in Qum, in her city. And alhamdulillah, the book was completed on the wiladat of her father, Imam Musa alayhi salam, and then printed. I mean, that was in 2002, so a long time ago.
So I think I need to read that book as well for myself to learn more, because I can also say that I don't know enough about her, and she's such a noble lady that we don't give enough respect. We have to learn more about her, and you actually saying that gives me goosebumps, because I remember my time in Qum as well, and talking to her, and having just left Masha, then you feel like, you know, missing Imam Ali Raza, but you don't know enough about Bibi Masuma, but you know she's got such a high status. So thank you for that. Can you tell us briefly who she is?
Okay, so very, very briefly, obviously we know that she's the daughter of our 7th Imam, Imam Hussein Kazim alayhi salam. She's the sister of Imam Ali Raza alayhi salam, our 8th Imam. She is actually, they're the only brother and sister of that mother. So they're the only two who share the same father and mother. And there's a 25 years gap between Imam Raza alayhi salam and Lady Fatima Masuma. So she was born on the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah in 173 AH in Medina. She spent 6 years with her father before he was imprisoned by Harun, and then she had about 21 years with her brother, Imam Raza. So she was under the guardianship of 2 Imams. So, you know, there's a lot of learning happening, and then, you know, later on when we talk in depth about her, you know, I'll actually explain how much she took on from them. But in 2000 AH, Mamun actually forced Imam Raza to move from Medina to Khorasan, and then she was separated from her brother as well. So in the next year, 2001 AH, she decided to go to Khorasan, but she never made it there. You know, unfortunately, they were ambushed in SAWA, and she fell ill. And she was taken to Qum, where she spent about 16 to 17 days before passing away, and she's obviously buried in Qum. So yeah.
So she grew up really under, you know, 2 infallibles. So she herself has got so much that we can learn from, because she's grown up under that guardianship of the 7th Imam and of the 8th Imam as well. So.
And she was very, very close to both her father and her brother.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, Imam Ali Raza didn't have any other full sister or brothers other than...
and we know that their bond was so strong that she couldn't live without her brother.
No, for sure.
So often, I mean, sometimes we refer to her as Sayyidah Masuma or Bibi Masuma, and often she's referred to or given the name of Sayyidah Fatima Masuma or Lady Fatima Masuma. What is her real name? Because people often get confused.
So as you know, the Imams had a very high regard for Lady Fatima Zahra alayha salam, and they would name a lot of their daughters, not just one, but quite a few of their daughters Fatima. And Imam Kazim alayhi salam did that. He named 4 of his daughters Fatima. So there was Fatima al-Kubra, which is Lady Fatima Masuma in Qum, and then there was Fatima Wusta, Fatima Sugra, and then Fatima al-Ukhra. So there were 4 Fatimas in her, but she was the eldest of the 4. So that's her name. Her name is Fatima. She was actually given the title Masuma by her brother Imam Raza alayhi salam, but after her death. Not in her lifetime. In the ziyarah that we have of her is by Imam Raza alayhi salam, and he actually gives her the title of Masuma, which obviously means someone who is sinless, who's pure. Which is a huge deal, because the Imams don't say things lightly. So for him to have given her that title shows at what level she was at. Because obviously she's not a Masum.
No.
But the fact that she's been given the title of Masuma.
I mean, there's a comparison there between then, say, the Zainab alayhi salam as well, that she was not an infallible, but she had such a high status, and she has such a high status. So I did not know that actually, that her name, her title was given after her passing. So that's really interesting to know actually. So her name is Fatima. Are there any comparisons as such between Bibi Fatima alayhi salam and say Bibi Masuma alayhi salam? Both their names are Fatima. What comparisons can we draw then?
So there are a few. So for example, when she was 6 years old, she was at home in Medina, and a group of men came to Medina to to talk to Imam Kazim alayhi salam, and they had a list of questions with them which they'd written down, which they wanted to ask him on. When they arrived, he wasn't there, so they left the list with the family, hoping that he would come back and answer them, and then they could collect it.
Yeah.
They stayed in Medina for a few days, and then as they were leaving, they went back to Imam Kazim alayhi salam's house to ask if, to say their farewells and things, and to see if the questions had been answered. Imam Kazim alayhi salam hadn't returned, but Lady Fatima Masuma alayhi salam, at the age of 6, had answered these questions. So they looked at the questions, they looked at the answers, and they were quite happy with them, and they went on their way. On the way, they met Imam Kazim alayhi salam returning to Medina, and they relayed to him what had happened. He asked to look at the answers, and the sentence that he said, Fidaha Abuha, which means may her father be sacrificed for her, which is the exact phrase. I mean, he said this 3 times, and this is the exact phrase that the Holy Prophet said about Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. So again, the fact that Imams don't say things lightly, and he'd use that phrase for her shows that the status
there is
of
a reason.
for sure the status that there was. And also there is a dream that someone had, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Sayyid Marashi Najafi, if I'm not mistaken, and he'd wanted to find out where Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam's grave is, because we don't know where she's buried. So he did an amal, du'as for 40 nights, in order to try to find where her grave is. And in all of that time, he kept, asking to be shown where the grave is. And after the 14 nights of the amal, he went to sleep, and he had a dream. And in this dream, he is told that he's told to go to, and the title that was given was the Karamatul, the noble woman, Karamatul Ahlul Bayt, the noble one of the family of the Prophet. Now he's told to go. It was either the 5th or the 6th Imam. He says he was standing at Baqi. He doesn't know whether it was the 5th or the 6th Imam, but he's told by them to go to visit the grave of Karamatul Ahlul Bayt. He assumes this means Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, and he says, that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I've been doing these amals and these du'as. And the Imam says to him, I meant the holy grave of Lady Fatima Masuma in Qum. And then the Imam actually added, it is Allah's desire that the location of the holy grave of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam be hidden from everyone. Here Imam has actually placed the grave of Lady Fatima Masuma alayhi salam in place of the grave of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. So although this person was looking for the grave of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, Imam tells her to go and visit Lady Fatima Masuma, which is quite powerful again.
Which is very powerful. So his hajat got accepted, and it's really, it's amazing, because often when we go to Qum, we don't realise her status, and we don't realise that actually, if we long to see Bibi Fatima alayhi salam's grave, and we know that we don't know her whereabouts, we can actually, and I think in some traditions it says that we can gain the same thawab.
Yes. So again, we have lots of hadiths which talk about the benefits of going to her pilgrimage. And one of them is where Imam Rozal actually says, whoever visits my sister, it's as if he has visited me. So again, having the same sawab of going to an imam's, haram, and going to Lady Fatima Masuma alayhi salam's haram, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
So she has, she's been given these amazing titles by the Aima. So again, Masuma was given to her by her brother. In this dream, this Karamatul Ahlul Bayt was given to her by either the 5th or the 6th Imam. So, they're amazing titles. And again, like you said, you compared her to Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, because again, she's not one of the 14 Masumin, but she's been given this title. I think it's important to recognize what infallibility means, this concept of sinlessness, because we feel like it means that they can't sin. So they are able to sin. but they chosen not to. To
to.
them, it's so disgusting that they would never do something like that. And because they, out of free will and free choice, don't sin,
Yes.
God then has purified them a thorough purification.
Okay.
So now they're not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects them from sinning by forgetting or by accident, sort of thing, by not knowing. Yeah. So Lady Fatima, Masuma, Lady Zainab, Hazrat Abbas,
Yes.
have all chosen not to sin.
Okay. So they have the ability to
Yes,
sin.
but they don't.
But so because they have that knowledge
Yes,
as well, they can see
exactly.
how that sin, what that sin would take them to.
The effect it would have on their soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They choose not to, and then you're saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them that greater knowledge and insight, so He takes them away from that sin then later on as well.
So Masoom is someone who's been given that thorough purification, which obviously we have for the 14 Masumi. So Lady Fatima Masuma, Lady Zainab, Hazrat Abbas are not Masoom in that sense, that they are
Yes.
protected from sin by God,
Okay.
but they are Masoom in the sense that they do not commit sins out of their own free will and free choice.
Okay.
Obviously, if we do something by accident,
Yes.
we can't be blamed for that.
Yes.
But because the 14 Masumeen are at such a high level that even God has even protected them from doing anything by accident as well.
Yes.
So yes, they are these Lady Fatima Masuma, Lady Zainab alayhi salam, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, are all Masum to the extent that they do not commit sins out of their own choice, or out of they may make a mistake.
Yes.
Because they're not infallibles as such,
yes.
but they're Masoom from the perspective of that they don't commit sins. So
they
they've
must
done the work themselves to get there.
Yeah, and they must have such a high knowledge to know the difference, and what the sin would take them to potentially.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But the beautiful thing is this Sayyid Marashi Najafi, who had this dream, when he woke up from his dream, the first thing he did was obviously go to Qum to pay, his pilgrimage, to do ziyarah to Lady Fatima Masuma.
Yes.
But later on, his son, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Shabab al-Din Marashi Najafi, actually migrated to Qum. And he said one of the reasons that he migrated to Qum was because of this dream of his father. And there he set up a library, and now and when you go to Qum, he's buried in his own library there in Qum. And he was, for all the time that he lived there, which was over 60 years, he would every single morning be the first one waiting outside the haram for it to open so that he could go and say his salams to Lady Fatima Masuma.
Yeah.
Even in his final illness before his death, he requested to be taken there, every morning. So for over 60 years, I mean, this is the impact that she has on you, that love and that connection that she builds to you.
Yeah.
It's once you've made that connection, it's beautiful.
It's
exactly.
beautiful. And that's why we feel such a sense of peace when you're there. And even if you don't know enough about her, you feel peace. And when you leave, and actually it's very strange because when I took my son there, he was very young at that time, but from all the ziyarats, he liked Qum the most. And he couldn't explain, and I didn't understand it at the time. But now we're talking about it more and more. I'm understanding it more because of the level that she has. It's truly amazing, actually. It's truly amazing.
And I think the greatest lesson for me is, that she was a non-Masoom.
Yes.
She wasn't an imam.
Yes.
She wasn't, at that stage.
Yeah.
But yet she managed to get herself to such a high level.
High to status,
so what's my excuse?
What's my excuse? You've written a book. What have I done? So why did she, we've heard in narrations that she didn't marry. Why was that reason?
Well, we know that it wasn't out of choice. She didn't choose to abandon the getting married.
Yes.
Because we have a hadith which talk about how important marriage is.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we have a hadith from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says that there's no institution more honourable and beloved to God than marriage. And he also talks about the fact that marriage is part of his sunnah, and whoever disregards his sunnah is not from him. So we know that's not the reason she didn't marry. And also that I think at the time of the fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, there was actually a woman who chose not to marry. And she said because she wanted to get honor in Allah's eyes and concentrate on getting closer to Allah, and she felt that marriage would deter her from that. And again, if you look at other religions, that's the thinking, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And a lot of the times, even if we don't understand Islam, we do think that, you know, our husband, our spouses, our children stop us from getting close to God because we're not able to do as much ibadah. I mean, if you think back to when your kids were younger, you know, you don't have time to do the extra ibadah, you know, all the mustahabbat.
But that is probably, that's a higher ibadah in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and often we don't, and especially, you're right, as mothers and you have young children, you don't see that until later on.
Exactly, and I think that's the beauty of Islam, where it's not about sitting on the, you know, on the musalla and just doing specific rote, you know, just recitation. It's about actually living Islam.
Yes.
And, you know, every aspect of our lives should be in obedience to God. And if it is in obedience to God, and if it is for His pleasure, then it becomes ibadah. Exactly. So whether I'm with my spouse, whether I'm with my children, whether I'm, you know, doing a TV show, whether I'm just, you know, having a cup of tea, all of it can be ibadah. It's having that correct niyyah. And I think that's
even really making a cup of tea for your husband could be classed as ibadah.
For sure, it depends on how you make it. Yes. Again, with the right niyyah, everything can be. So we know that she didn't abandon marriage, because we know that at that time, because when this woman wanted, you know, chose not to get married, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam actually says to her that if the abandonment of marriage gave a person more honor, then Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam would not have married.
Yes.
For there is no woman who's purer or more honourable than her. So there may be, you know, the reason may be that there wasn't anyone at the same standard as her. And again, you know, anyone who's compatible at that time. Because again, we have that, you know, we have a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam where if God had not created Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, for Fatima, then there would not have been a suitable husband for her in the whole world. So
very true.
There may have not been someone who was suitable, or it may be the fact that at that time there was so much fear and anxiety caused by Harun's government that people wouldn't have wanted to get close to Imam and his family. So any suitors would not have come forward because they wouldn't have been wanted to be aligned. Fear. Yes, exactly. They wouldn't have been wanted to be aligned with Imam at all. So it could have been because of that as well.
Okay. This is interesting because that question does arise, and often, you know, you do think, oh, why doesn't, but it makes sense now.
And I think that the most powerful thing here is, you know, these titles are just for worldly purposes.
Yes.
It's the journey that's what's important, the journey towards God. And if you get caught up in the titles, then you forget the journey towards God. So it's like if I'm not getting married, that doesn't make me any less.
No.
If I don't have children, that doesn't make me any less.
But often, you know, community makes you feel that way.
I think not only community, but ourselves as well. Because we grow up and we have this image of this amazing life where, you know, this perfect life where I'm going to study, I'm going to qualify, and then I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to have my 2.5 children, and then I'm going to, you know, have my grandchildren, and I'm going to... But that's not what life is. And life is about, it literally, if I am moving towards God, then I'm succeeding in my life. It doesn't matter whether I'm married or whether I have kids or whether I don't.
Or how many kids you have. Often people say you have 1, you have 3. Why don't you have more kids?
Exactly. And it's the same sort of thing. It's like, well, you know, how much money do you have? How many cars do you have? It's the same sort of thing. These are all tools in order to allow us to get closer to God. And Allah chooses what tools we require to get close to Him. Sometimes He'll give us something because it will bring us closer to Him. Sometimes we beg for something and He knows out of His wisdom that this is not good for us. It's going to take us away from Him. So He withholds it. Or sometimes He's got a bigger plan for us. So with Lady Fatima Masuma, imagine if she had got married, maybe she wouldn't have been able to travel to, you know, to meet her brother, and she wouldn't have then got ill and you know, passed away in Qum, and we wouldn't have had her in Qum. And you know, being the guardian of Qum and taking care of all those people, she wouldn't have been able to do that role. So, you know, God actually had something greater for her than the concept of marriage. But then again, marriage is a huge thing as well. So it's like, I don't think there's any right or wrong, as long as you're doing you know, you're doing it with the right niyyah. So if you're trying to get married, because that's the sunnah of the Prophet,
yes,
and then you don't get married, then I think, you know, we need to sort of say, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't what God's got in plan for me.
Yeah.
Maybe He's got something else in plan.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you don't have to continue doing the du'as. You should still pray for what you want.
yes,
Because it's innate in us to want to get
Yes,
married. So
yeah.
I think we should pray for that, but at the same time not lose hope, not feel like I'm less than because I haven't got a husband, or because I don't have a wife, or because I don't have children.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
those things are just for this world.
yeah.
And sometimes those things actually pull us away from God.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because often, you know, sometimes we end up comparing ourselves to other people, and you never find true happiness because you're always looking at the other person.
Yeah.
The other person has this and I don't have that. And it's all about striving and that journey to Allah subhanahu
Exactly.
wa ta'ala. And we have,
forget.
you know, Lady Masooma is a perfect example. She wasn't married, but she had such a high status, and it's a testament to her, and it's a perfect example to so many other people
Yeah,
that
for sure.
we'll never get to her status, but we can try and better ourselves to become the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we forget the purpose of our life, and we forget that it's the aim of our life, and the goal is God.
Yes.
Even in our du'as, it's like sometimes when you want something a lot, you know, it's like we'll pray to Allah, and we'll say, for example, Ya Allah, please give me kids. Ya Allah, please give me kids. Yeah. But what I've done is I've cut my du'a. I've made my end kids.
Yes.
Whereas I should say, Ya Allah, please give me kids in order to bring
yes,
me closer to
yes,
you, in order that
very
they become
true.
the Ansar of the Mahdi.
Yes,
Ajalallahu farajahum. You know,
exactly,
it's again, Ya Allah, please let me get married. Ya Allah, please let me get married. Again, it should be, Ya Allah, let me get married so that together we can get closer to you. Or Ya Allah, let me pass these exams. Again, let me pass these exams so that I can actually then, you know, do something with that for you. So, you know, we should always make sure that our du'as aren't cut. A lot of the times we cut our du'as, and then psychologically what we've done is we've made that thing our end goal.
Yes.
And, you know, even if we don't mean to, it's in the back of our heads.
And that's very normal. We all do that. But what you're saying is we should always have Allah as our front goal.
Yeah.
So whatever we wish for, whatever we pray
should lead
for,
us to that.
leading us to Allah and for
actually
His
voicing
pleasure.
that, and actually voicing that, so it's a reminder to us that I want this thing, but only if it's going to bring me to you.
Okay, yeah. Because often we have it inside of us, but we're so busy in our lives, we think, okay, Allah knows what's in my heart. But actually saying it probably has a greater effect.
For sure, because it sort of reminds us, because I think a lot of the times when we focus on something that we really, really want, and like, you know, and it's something that's innate in us as well, like getting married or having kids and things like that, then that becomes my all, without me even realizing. So this way, I never make anything my all. It's always Allah. It's always Allah, sort of thing. So it's a beautiful reminder for myself, and also I think, you know, that's the way we've been taught to do our du'as as well.
Yes, yes.
You know, so making sure that everything goes back to Allah. It's like we know these things, but
we need reminders.
We need reminders, and that's why the Holy
reminders.
Quran is full of reminders, right?
Exactly, and so we can only, like, for example, for me, I can only try and do better by my children so that they, hopefully, you know, they will one day please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and serve in the army of Imam, like you're saying. Inshallah. Inshallah. So, did Lady Fatima Masuma, we know her status now, and we know that she was very knowledgeable, did she narrate any hadith?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, we have quite a few narrations from her. And again, it's beautiful because it shows that it's not just the men of the household that were, you know, doing the work, sort of thing. The problem is because of the oppressive regime at that time, you know, we've lost a lot of things.
Yeah.
But we do have quite a few. So we have, for example, the Hadith of Gadir, which she relates from Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. So, you know, the narration, it's a chain of narration that goes back to Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, who says that, you know, who actually says, have you forgotten the words of the Prophet of God on the day of Gadir Qum, when he said, whosoever's leader I am, then Ali is also their leader. So the chain leads from Lady Fatima Zahra all the way down to Lady Fatima Masuma, without a break in between. So it shows that's just an authentic hadith.
Yes.
Again, the hadith of where the Holy Prophet likens Imam Ali alayhi salam to him and Imam Ali alayhi salam to Harun and Musa. So the hadith where he says, your relationship to me is like the relationship of Harun to Musa, but there is no prophet after me.
Yes.
Again, was related by Lady Fatima Masuma. We have a hadith which talks about when the Holy Prophet went to Miraj and what he saw, and on the doors where it's where there was inscribed La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulallah Aliyyun Waliyullah, and and all the different things that were inscribed on the doors where when he travelled into the heavens and things. So we do have quite a few hadiths from Lady Fatima Masuma which are beautiful. Again, I suppose the learning is that a lot of the times, as the woman, I sort of sit there and think, okay, we'll leave it to the men, we'll leave it to the men. And this shows that we have a duty as well.
For sure.
Especially when it comes to knowledge. I think, a lot of the times we get so busy bringing up our children, but if we're bringing up our children, we need to make sure that they have knowledge. So they're going to be learning from me as the mother first.
Yes.
And if I don't know, they're not going to know.
They're not going to learn.
And they're going to be boys and girls as well. So it's important that I teach them what I know, because that's, it's like Ayatollah Khomeini used to say that, in the laps of the mothers is other soldiers sort of thing. So it's again understanding this concept of I am the first teacher of my children.
Yes.
That's really, really important. And Lady Fatima Masuma actually showed that. Again, at the age of 6, being able to answer those questions, relating hadiths and so forth. So. And
we forget that often as young mothers, that children look up to us first.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's beautiful actually. So, you mentioned in the beginning that, and we talk about that she's the guardian of Qum. How did she end up in Qum?
Okay, so as I said, her brother, Imam Rozal Islam, in 200 AH was forced by Mamun to actually move to Khorasan.
Okay.
She was very, very close to her brother. But again, a lot of the times we don't understand what this idea of closeness means. We look at it very much as an emotional attachment, which is a human attachment. But these holy personalities were, yes, they were human and they had the emotional attachment, but it was always with God in mind, with God as the focus.
Yes.
So although we know she missed her brother, it wasn't just, oh, poor me, I haven't got my brother anymore, or I miss him so much.
What we would do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was more like, I'm missing my Imam.
Yes.
It's the same sort of principle as I think when we hear that, when the Holy Prophet passed away, Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam cried continuously. She cried, so much that the people of Medina started complaining to Imam Ali alayhi salam and said, tell her to either cry in the day or the night. She's just crying continuously. And it makes her look like she's such a weak person and she's missing her father so much that all she's doing is just crying. But there was a whole revolution that happened because of her mourning. It wasn't so much crying, it was mourning. The fact that this woman who was known by the ladies of Medina, they knew her status, they knew her strength and her sabr, and the fact that she was mourning so much made them question why. Why are you mourning so much? And she was able to then explain to them what their husbands were doing. So there's a whole revolution that was happening from this mourning. Also the fact that she was mourning the death of the greatest human being that had ever been created, had been taken from the earth. So the blessings, the blessings that were on the earth had gone, and she could see that, she could see the reality of that. And they had so much love for the people that they actually felt the hurt that we were feeling, no matter how much we do against them. It's like we're constant, we're told that our deeds are given to the Imam of our time. But we don't care that we're making him cry through our deeds, and yet he still prays for us. They love us so much. We don't deserve that love, but they really, really love us. And we make him cry, but he prays for us. In the same way, Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam was crying for the people because they'd lost out on this mercy.
And I did not know that. We know about the close bond between Bibi Fatima and Prophet Muhammad. But you're saying that, so that's something new that I've learned. I didn't realize that she was crying so much because she knew what that mercy to mankind had been lifted.
Why he would never now come down on the earth. That's huge. And then also the revolution that was happening through her mourning. There's so much happening. So again, with Lady Fatima Masuma, she wasn't just crying because she was separated from her brother. She was crying because she was separated from the Imam of her time. That's huge.
Huge, yeah.
And she, you know, she wanted to go back with him, and it wasn't just getting, you know, going there just to be with her brother or her Imam. It was to actually play a role in propagating Islam.
Yeah, yeah.
So she, you know, she wanted to make sure that she played the role that she needed to. So she decided a year later, in 201 AH, to actually travel to Khorasan, to be with her brother, to be with the Imam, so that if he needed anything, especially teaching the women, and we know how, you know, it's much easier for a woman to teach a woman than a man to teach teach women. Yeah. So again, you know, she wanted to be there to ensure that she played her role in that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you know, she didn't make it. We're told that on the way the caravan was ambushed by the soldiers of Mamun, and he or she actually saw her family members being brutally killed. So we're given the numbers, like about 23 of her family members were killed in front of her. Wow. So again, this is the comparison that you made at the beginning.
Bibi Zainab.
Yeah, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, who saw her family members being brutally killed in front of her as well. So it wasn't just the close bond between Imam Hussein and Bibi Zainab, but the fact that Bibi Zainab saw
the family members in front of her eyes.
Exactly.
Yes,
and so, you know, Lady Fatima Masuma also saw that as well. And we're told that it was before the ambush happened. What happened is the soldiers came, and in order to try to stop them from going, they didn't want them to get to Khorasan, to the Imam. So they started spreading this rumor that the Imam has died. Now, this caused a lot of confusion because some people believed them, some people didn't. They didn't know what to do. So some people were within the caravan of Lady Fatima Masuma saying, well, there's no point going to Khorasan now, let's go back to Medina.
Yeah.
And then some were saying, no, but we don't know whether they're telling the truth, so maybe we should. And there's all this confusion. And while this confusion was happening, they seized the opportunity and, you know, ambushed the caravan and killed 23 members of the family.
Yeah.
This is why you may sometimes hear that Lady Fatima Masuma died after hearing the death of her brother.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She died before her brother, because that was a lie. He wasn't dead. It was just a rumor. So the Imam was...
there's a lot of confusion there in history as well.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, before I started doing the research, I'd grown up hearing in Majalis that she had died because she heard the death of her, you know...
out of sadness and grief,
But we have... that the ziyarah that we have is from her brother. So how could he have given the ziyarah to us?
And he gave her the title after she passed away. Wow.
Exactly. So we know that, you know, she became very ill. Now this could be because of everything that she was put through.
Yes.
There's another narration that says that she was actually given some poison.
Okay.
And that made her ill. But in SAWA, the people of SAWA were very much against the Ahlul Bayt.
Okay.
So it was a very hostile environment. So we're told that when she became ill, they decided to take her to Qum, and there's another narration that says that no, Qum was very much a Shia place, you know, lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, and there was someone, you know, the people from Qum came and invited her to Qum, and actually sort of took her on the camelback and took her to Qum, where she then stayed, you know, there, and then she was there for about 16 to 17 days before she passed away.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how she ended up in Qum. She never actually got to see her brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she, you know, she had a close relationship with her brother, but also she knew that he was the Imam of her time, and that draws another comparison to Bibi Zainab, why she was so valiant in Karbala, because she knew, yes, Imam Hussein is her brother, but he's actually the Imam.
Yes, exactly.
So there's quite a few comparisons that can be drawn there, actually.
And again, we have this thing that, you know, what Bibi Zainab, you know, couldn't live without Imam Hussein, and she wanted to, you know, in her marriage, you know, she wanted to have that statement put in. And, but again, it's because it's not that. There is obviously an emotional attachment between a brother and sister, but it was more than that. It was, she knew she had a role to play. You know, after Karbala, there was a huge role that she had to play, so she had to be there. So it's, you know, understanding history makes us understand the strength that these people had, and actually then try to emulate it to a certain extent in our lives. I think, you know, we talk about we talk about concepts, but I don't think we actually truly understand them until we see them played out by these holy personalities, because they play them out, so beautifully that it makes you sort of think, what am I doing? It's like, I honestly, when you see the sabr and the strength that that they have, and you think,
so
wow.
We have no excuse really in our lives to even say, why Allah, why me? When you've got perfect examples of Bibi Fatima Masuma, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam in front of us, we don't have an excuse at all.
Not at all, not at all.
So, that draws me very nicely to the next question, where Ayam Masuma, the days of Masuma, why do we have them?
So there's a little bit of confusion on when she actually passed away. So there are 3 dates that are given.
Okay.
There's the 10th of Rabathani, there's the 12th of Rabathani, and there's the 8th of Shaban.
Okay.
Now, because the 10th and the 12th are very close to each other, there's 3 days, obviously 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yes.
The scholars have said, okay, let's take these 2 dates and make those 3 days as Ayam Masuma.
Okay.
And then we'll sort of commemorate her during these 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's how we get Ayam Masuma for the 3 days.
Okay, and why not? She's such a noble lady.
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what was so special about her burial?
So we know that when she passed away, she was in the house of a man called Musa ibn Khazraj ibn Sa'd Ashari. And he was the one who had actually gone to SAWA to, according to some narrations, and bring her back, and he kept her in his house. They arranged for ghusl and kafan to be done. After the ghusl and kafan had been done, they were discussing amongst them who would go down into the crypt to actually lower her body into the crypt. And as they were having this discussion, 2 masked men, riders, appeared, and they sort of took charge.
Okay.
They dismounted from, they came down from their mounts, and they took the body of Lady Fatima Masuma, and they actually recited the Salat al-Mayat for her, and then they took her and buried her, and they put her into the crypt, and then they, without talking to anyone, rode off again. Now, obviously, no one's certain who they were, but it's believed that they were her brother Imam Rozal alayhi salam and his son Imam Muhammad al-Taqi alayhi salam.
Wow.
So Imam Rozal had come from Khorasan, and Imam Muhammad al-Taqi from Medina, in order to participate in her burial. Again, showing the status of this woman.
Exactly.
The fact that 2 imams had come to give her that honor, and yes, the imams would give honor to any pious people and bury them, but the fact that they'd actually, both of them had come. One of them could have come. It could have just been because, like, Imam Rozal was in Khorasan. He was her brother. He could have come, but the fact that his son also came just shows what an amazing woman she was.
And the more you speak about her, the more goosebumps I get, and the more I want to learn about her. And we could sit here all day and speak about her, but I'm keen to finish these questions just so that our viewers can learn a little bit more about her. So if we move on to the next question, can you mention some of the merits of, say, the Masuma's pilgrimage?
Sure, and again, like you're saying, I think those goosebumps where you want to go to visit her, they're going to increase so much more now when you hear these merits, because we have merits from 3 imams about her. So you have, for example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and this is before she was even born. In fact, this was even before her father, Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam, was born. Okay. So Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam is talking about Bibi Masooma, Lady Fatima Masuma, before her father is even born.
Wow.
Okay, and he says that a lady from my children by the name of Fatima will be buried in Qum. Whoever visits her shrine will certainly be admitted to heaven. And again, this concept of being admitted to heaven is by Imam Rozal alayhi salam as well, who says whoever visits her shrine will his reward will be heaven. And we also have from Imam Muhammad al-Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salam, where he says whoever visits my aunt, Lady Fatima Masuma alayhi salam, in Qum will enter heaven. So 3 Aima have said that by going to visit her, to do her ziyarah, you're entitled to heaven. Again, obviously, there are conditions. We can't, you know, it's not just doing it like a tick box exercise. You have to understand her status. You have to understand who you're going to see, and give her the, you know, the respect that she deserves. But yeah, and there's another beautiful hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam where he says, a lady from my children whose name will be Fatima, daughter of Musa, will die in Qum. On the day of judgment, this lady will intercede for all my Shia to enter heaven.
If only we knew the true merits and the true status of this noble, and I speak for myself, if only I knew her merits when I was in Qum, I would really try and connect with her more.
For sure. And the thing is, we have many hadiths which talk about the fact that you know, non-Muslims can intercede for people. But there's not anyone that's been named. So here Imam actually names her and says that she will. And this is probably why in the ziyarah written for her by her brother, you know, brother, he actually says, you know, he uses the concept of, you know, asking for that intercession. So there's a part of the ziyarah where you say, oh Fatima, intercede for me, so that I may enter heaven. And again, that's because of the hadith that says that, you know, she can intercede for us. So that's really, really powerful.
So her ziyarah is very special then.
Yes, because it was, again, we don't have a non-Masoom who has a ziyarat written specifically for them by a Masoom. So the fact that Imam Rozal alayhi salam wrote a ziyarah specifically for her is beautiful. And he also, again, showing what a high level she's at. He says, whoever visits Matsuma, this is Imam Rozal alayhi salam, he says, whoever visits Matsuma in Qum, it is like he has visited me. And we also have, following that, you know, we have that whoever visits any of the Imams, you know, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was asked, what is the reward of someone who, you know, performs pilgrimage of one of the Imams? And he says it's as if he has visited the Prophet. So if you combine the two hadiths together, by visiting Lady Fatima Masuma, you're getting the hadith, you're getting the reward of visiting Imam Reza. By visiting Imam Reza, you're getting the reward of visiting the Holy Prophet. So you know, it's like you can't.
If you draw that back, you can't.
It's amazing.
She's so high. I mean,
no, for sure. And we have also that, you know, there was a Shia who actually narrates that he went to the pilgrimage of Imam Reza alayhi salam, and then he went on to Karbala from there. And in his dream, he saw Imam Reza, where Imam Reza said to him, you came to do my ziyarah, why didn't you go to my sisters in Qum? So even though he went to Karbala, he didn't go back home. But Imam actually still said to him, you should have still gone, you know, you should have gone.
Visited my sister.
Yeah, to my sister. So there are so many hadiths that talk about, you know, the importance of her ziyarah. And it's, you know.
And I guess we could be here all day sitting and talking about her. And I feel like I really need to read that book of yours now to learn more about her and try and better myself as well, inshallah. And that, you know, very nicely brings me on to the last question of today's program. And have there been any miracles? We know, and you told us that she's such a noble lady and she has this high status. Have there been any miracles that have occurred in her name and at her shrine and at her ziyarat?
Yeah, loads. So they actually have an office there in Qum. This is when I was living there. I'm sure it's you know, it's different now, but they used to have an office where whenever a miracle happened, you would go and actually lodge it down, sort of, you know, so it would be written down and it would be kept, you know, so that there was a whole list of miracles that were happening. And there is no other shrine other than Lady Zainab alayhi salam and Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam where, you know, who are non-Masoom, where so many miracles are happening. Really? So literally the number of miracles that happen in Qum is, you know, in tally with the number of miracles that are happening in Bibi, you know, in Sham and Bibi Zainab alayhi salams, or in Karbala at Hazrat Abbas alayhi salams. And you know, you could sit here for hours and hours and talking about it, but I think the ones that I wrote in my book, which were you know, of certain people who were known to be at quite a high level, because a lot of the times, you know, we make ourselves believe that it's a miracle, or you know, you don't know how much truth there is, or how much, you know, extra people have added on and things like that. So when I was actually writing these miracles, I wanted to have them from people who were considered as, you know, quite high in their knowledge and would not just take things lightly. So there was this one miracle which happened, which was really, really beautiful, and it shows that you don't have to be really high in knowledge, but you just have to be very pious and very sincere. So this was a man whose name was Mirza Asadullah, who was a guard. He used to guard the shrine of Lady Fatima Masuma, and he spent years doing this. And he was known to be a very pious, very humble person, and he got gangrene in his foot, and he was told that he would have to have it amputated. And he was very, very upset about this because he could no longer then work or do much. So he decided to spend the night at Lady Fatima Masuma, and as we know, they shut the haram after a certain time. But because he was a guard, he was allowed to stay. So he stayed there the whole night praying to her, and he actually complained to her, and he was asking her to take care of him and sort his illness out and everything. And then in the morning when they came and they opened up the haram, the shrine, they heard him like, sort of screaming and shouting and really, really happy. And he was standing there and he was totally, totally cured. And he actually said, and this is in his own words, he says, "A noble lady approached me and asked, 'What is it that you want?' And I replied, 'Cure me of this illness in my foot. Ask Allah for my cure or my death.' Then that noble lady rubbed the corner of her scarf on my foot a few times and said, 'Allah has cured you.' Immediately I felt better and the constant pain in my foot disappeared. I asked her who she was, and she replied, 'How do you not recognize me while you are one of the guards of my shrine? I am Fatima, the daughter of Masooma ibn Jaffer.'" So
really it's making my body tingle.
It's so beautiful that just like he was taking care of her shrine, she took care of him. So yeah, it was really beautiful. And then we have the other miracles which talk about how Mullah Sadra, how again Ayatollah Marashi Najafi would when they got stuck in trying to find an answer to a specific problem, a specific philosophical problem, or they would actually go to her shrine and ask her, and she would give them the answer. So yeah, and I think this one's really beautiful. This is where the late Grand Ayatollah said Shabab al-Din Marashi Najafi actually talks about it, and he says there was a time when he wanted to get his daughter married. And he didn't have enough money to do so. So he went to the shrine of Lady Fatima Masuma, and he says to her with tears in his eyes, he was actually quite stern about it, and he said, "Oh my lady and mistress, why do you not care about my life? How can I get my daughter married with these empty hands?" And he pleaded to her, and he was very upset about it, and he went home. And when he went home, he dozed off, and in his dream he sees someone knocking at his door. And he opens it, and there was a person who was standing there, and he says to him that the lady is seeking you. So he quickly got up and he went to the shrine. This is all happening in his dream. He goes to the shrine and he enters the shrine, and he sees the women cleaning the shrine and everything, and then he asks them what are they doing, and he says that the lady is coming, and then she comes, and he says that in his dream he sees her, and she reminds him very much of the likeness of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, because he's seen her in a dream as well. And he goes closer to her, and he says, he kisses her hand because obviously he's related to her, and she says to him, "Oh Shabab, when have we not thought of you that you now expect harshness from us and are complaining? You have been under our eyes since the time you have arrived in Qum, and we have been granting you your desires." And so when he woke up from his sleep, he felt so bad because he realized how impolite it had been. So he ran to the shrine to apologize to Lady Fatima Masuma and ask for her forgiveness. But everything got sorted. That he's got money from God. God knows where, and he managed to marry his daughter, and everything was sorted. So little things like that, and they're important at that time. Definitely. That was very, very important to him to get his daughter married and things like that. So being cured of illnesses, being given risk, and things like that. There's so many.
I feel like we could sit here all day, but sure. I feel sad to say this to our viewers, and unfortunately we've come to the end of our time today, and like I said, speaking about her gives me goosebumps, and we could sit here all day and speak about her, but thank you for shedding some light about her, and why she has such a high status, and why we use her as our intercession, and why we should use her as our intercession. And I hope she intercedes for all of us, and inshallah she calls us for her ziyarat soon. And now we truly understand why she is the guardian of Qum, and let's try and use her, the knowledge that we've learnt about her today, to use her in our lives and try and better ourselves. And inshallah, viewers, join us another time for more, more informative programs, inshallah, about Bibi Masooma alayhi salam as well. But that's all that we have time for today. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
السلام عليك يا بنت ولي الله السلام عليك يا أخت ولي الله السلام عليك يا عمة ولي الله السلام عليك يا بنت موسى بن جعفر ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I am the source of life. I bring livelihood to many. I am the remedy. I am the cure. I clean. I purify. Many take me for granted, but without me, they cannot live.
که دارد